Okay, so let's talk about the final part of this arc, which was winter and before the flood. It's been a while since we recorded that, so if someone remembers what the fuck happened,
A shitload.
Yeah.
You got a rock.
I feel like I can try. I will approximate. I will do my very level best. So we had the pleasure of being sent an advanced copy of Before the Flood by some friends of the show. And Before the Flood is a game written for exactly 6 people. And that's what attracted us to it initially, is that like it's a world building, like it's written for us.
Yeah.
Specifically us.
for those who've forgotten how many are in this call,
There are
Just-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, and I'm going to read that list to you now. Lex does not like lists. Actually, none of us do. So
Lex almost legitimately killed Ben.
that's true. That's fair. Shot me in the head via computer. So one of the creators is also a listener. So like, shout out. I'm assuming that we were part of the creative process. And in fact, I am personally taking full credit. So-
I know where you live.
well, yeah, he says it regularly on the podcast. We everyone who listens to the podcast
Yeah.
could find Ben's home right now if they tried.
I am only semi-anonymous. Like, I kind of don't give a shit. So, come at me. Don't, please.
Please
I have a
don't.
dog. She'll get you. She's baby. So what we decided to do is we wanted to build an area at the very top of the big, important, unnamed river. And that's where we set the area for Before the Flood. And it started out with a mountain basically covered in waterfalls, full of caves that were used as catacombs, and eventually turned into a setting where there was the mountain, there was a mesa that had 2-headed cows and goats on it. Were they goats or cows? I imagine them cows.
Herd animals?
Milk.
Yeah,
were
they were
herd
just
animals.
yeah. We
Some
never,
sort of milkable herd animal with 2 heads.
never
Or no, it
fully
eventually
admitted.
got 2 heads. I'm doing a great job, you
Yes.
guys.
I've been saying goats because I needed something to say. But
That's
like
true.
they could be anything from like yaks to I don't know.
Some species that does not exist in this world.
They
An
resemble
unhuman of some sort.
goats. That is good. That is the
Sure.
comparison we have. They resemble goats.
Okay,
Goat cows.
working
Go cow
with it.
yak sheep.
Go cow yak sheep. Go.
They're the greatest of all time.
So, the other thing that we established is that the river has a property where it also, kind of like the rivers of the city of Nairburn, carries memory in it. And so the memories of those interred in this mountain or buried in the river, if you drank from the river, you would get fragments of their memory. And that ends up being one of kind of the driving elements to this whole area, is this interaction with like memory and death and stuff.
Yes. In fact, if you remember earlier, you tried to go on a tangent about Gnostikinesis before we got here,
Gnostikinesis, yes.
and I had to steer you off it. So
You had
now's
to
the
pull me
time.
away from Gnostikinesis.
So now's the time to go off, King.
This is where we created probably the coolest magic mechanic I think anyone's ever thought of, and I believe it was Rob who.
I know Rob named it at least. I don't remember.
I could have swore Rob.
It was
conceived
Rob.
It was discover something new, I believe.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah. Rob
Yeah.
conceived of it, which is Gnostokinesis, which is the application of memories. And I believe the image you used was if someone is trying to move a rock, instead of using like mind powers, what they do is they remember an image of every single person they've ever seen moving a heavy thing, and then they all just sort of assemble next to the rock at once and then move it together, which is buck fucking wild.
It's literally like taking memory and you imposing your memory on a physical space. Which
Fucking-
like there's so many directions you could have gone with that, and I think that's the coolest direction possible.
So evocative. Yeah.
You just remember something so hard you make it real.
Like, that's the thing for me, though, is I wasn't, like, pre-planning it, but the more I thought about it after the fact, it's like, why isn't this a thing that's, like, in a genre more because like
Mhm.
our perception and memory are so like closely intertwined. Like you will misremember things, and then after enough time goes by, you're one of the few people that remembers it. That just becomes reality, right? Like and magic is all about like making your will bend reality. And if your memory is bending your reality, why can't then your memory bend your will, which bends reality, which bends your memory?
I got a question for you, Rob.
Hmm.
So one of the well, I guess one of the hard and fast rules that is consistent throughout all interactions with magic is that if you dig too hard and too deep, it begins to physically affect you. So what happens when a Gnostikineticist digs hard and too deep? Lex, I see you giggling.
Sorry, all right. The word Gnostikineticist, it just
I need to tell you something. That felt really satisfying to say.
Yeah.
That
Uh-huh.
dances on the tongue.
Also, Rob, to answer your question about why that doesn't happen more in fiction, I'm working on it.
Ah,
I
There
can
we
only
go.
write so many books at once.
well, what are the extremes of memory? Too much or too little, right? So you could either lose your sense of self and just be a repository of memories not connected to like the now, right? Like if you can't tell the difference between a memory and perception, then you could do plenty of things, but not pretty much none of it's going to be relevant to your living, breathing body. Or
Is that what happened to the Forgotten God?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's the thought I had. It's definitely similar.
or you're just like Memento, right? Like you just don't. Your memories aren't your own. You've pushed so hard that you've pushed your memories out of your body, and now you're like living 1 hour of memory in between.
You could get a Memento situation. You could get some like addledness. I could see like yeah. I wonder if there's like a physical thing. But what do you got, Sad?
I guess that the thought that I had is having the experience, like the experience from somebody who is in this condition of, imagine when my wife and I moved back to Iowa City, the Iowa City area. Whenever we would go downtown and see the places that we had been when we were in college, I always had this thing that I would do where I would point out stuff that was different, like the new buildings and murals that had gone up, this and that. And like there were a couple of the people that we had seen around town that are still here, but it's a college town. So especially during the school year, large portions of the population just kind of turn over. And I wonder if drawing too deep doesn't put you becoming almost like a memory wraith. The experience that the individual has of inhabiting a space is you are experiencing all of the versions of that place at the same time. You are dislocated from, like, hey, why does that guy go around that square? It's like, well, because there used to be a big tree there, and it got struck by lightning. We had to take it down, and like they don't know if that tree is still there or not, and so they go around it to be safe.
I imagine for the Gnostikineticist that is dug too deep, it is there. And if they walk into it, they will actually walk into like an invisible wall.
Ooh,
Also, this reminds
interesting.
me of the Tralfamadors from Slaughterhouse 5.
My other thought is, the experience of being around people who you knew in like your early childhood or like different stages of your life, or like back with family, and you like revert your personality back ever so slightly, right? Like you can fall back into old habits. But places and people can make you do that, where like even like, oh man, like I just had this food and it reminded me of being at my grandparents and what that did, like that kind of stuff like changes. So like the extreme of that, right? Of like, oh wow, okay, sorry, my nostokineticist friend just ran into a really bad boss, so they are literally the worst person they could be right now. They're currently a burnt out and bitter employee, and until we find someone with a more positive person associated with it, that's going to be a bad
Yeah.
time.
You live too much in your memory. You live too much outside of the present.
You become disconnected from it. Yeah.
I was about to say, either way, you lose yourself.
The thing that comes to mind for me right now when we think about memory, there's a specific story that I would have to tell, which if it's too long, tell me to shut the fuck up. But what happened, this happened maybe 2 weeks ago. I was talking to my cousin, shout out, she's listening right now.
What up?
Hey.
She and I
Love you.
we both have really bad memories, but sometimes she just flat out forgets I was there for a thing that happened. One of the times she's like, "Hey, do you want to come with me to see my favorite band?" I was like, "I met them already. I've talked to them. We've hung out with that band before. They've invited us on stage." She's like, "What? No, you weren't there with me. I was there when you met them. I was fully there." So anyway, I think that's what would be my nightmare. If just that forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and
that would suck.
I bet nostokineticists really suffer from deja vu.
Uh-huh.
Constantly.
Maybe I'm secretly a nostokineticist.
Could be.
I have
If you
deja vu
crack
about
it-
having deja vu about having deja vu. It goes up to 5 layers deep sometimes.
I've only had it 2 layers. I've only had a 2-layer deja vu.
They
And
also,
it happened once, and I remember it distinctly because I remembered it in a dream.
A thought that I had, because like a lot of like with how I've described nostokinesis, it's your memory affecting like externally.
Mhm.
What if pushing too deep can affect how other people remember you? So either either they
Ooh.
remember everything that there is to know about you, or they cannot remember you. It will affect other people's ability to remember you. And what do they remember about you? Do they remember the actual you, or have you just become an echo of all the memories you hold and exert out into the world?
And perhaps it manifests physically in a strange way, in that superficial elements about your personage can change based on how people think they remember you. So, for example, someone might be like, "Oh, yeah, Benjamin, dirty blonde hair." And then someone will be like, "No, Benjamin's got like really dark brown hair." And then as they're having this conversation, my hair is continuously shifting. Like, because I have become like a sponge for the way they remember me. I am subject to their impressions.
you become the consensus of everyone who remembers you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And it starts small,
Interesting.
but you can tell it's getting bad, like when your eye color changes, or when physical features change, or when it
When
starts
your
affecting your
height
personality.
fluctuates.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
like, a
Well,
bunch of like taller people, so you
ultimately-
seem shorter.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
what happened is because this is it's a phrase I've always loved in writing called Flanderization.
Oh no! You become Flanders!
So Flanderization refers to a Simpsons character, Ned Flanders. I've never actually watched The Simpsons, but I'm only aware of this character because of this term.
Well,
Flanderization
okey
refers
dokey
to
then.
character has a trait, and then that trait gets expanded until it's their only trait.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what would happen to people if like we were shaped by people's memories of us, because they're gonna remember our most memorable
Yeah.
things we do, and then we just become that thing.
There's
So
that's
also
we
like-
would
this
get
happens, like, over
flanderized in
time.
real life.
Like, you got to dig
Yeah.
too deep. Either you have to do one really big catastrophic one, or you have to do it like you got to like cross the line a little bit, like too many times.
Mhm.
Someone who's like being really careful with their nostokinesis, like, is not going to be as at risk for this sort of thing happening.
Mhm.
Also, didn't we establish that technically only one person can do it?
Yeah, but when
It's
we
exactly-
establish one person, I'm gonna be like, oh, I came up with a character class called the Nostokineticist. And it's
Uh-huh,
like,
Listen,
yeah, yeah.
listen. One person found out how to do it. You know.
Look,
You
it's
can-
never
you
just
now
one
know
guy.
it's there to study it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like as far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned, everything that isn't directly like a blessing from a god is repeatable.
That's kind of where
Um,
my head is too.
As far as I'm concerned. But
Yeah.
like
Well, and I'll tell you, there's a phenomenon which is the conceptual extreme. This is an artistic thing,
mhm.
which is as soon as one person like cracks some line in like an art form, or even athletics is very common as well, all of the sudden, like a dozen people come out of the woodwork that are like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And they're able to do it better. Now, usually the first person is like the famous one, but then eventually, like as generations go, it just becomes a totally normal thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because you're often not the first person to come up with something. You're just the person who got seen coming up with something.
Yeah.
Especially in the age of television and the internet, where
Yeah.
things get documented now.
Except for Game Woven, this is definitely the first and only of its kind.
Yes, for sure. No one else has had this idea first, and no one else has done it better.
Well, a lot of people have had this idea because I'm pretty sure almost everyone in this chat has had this idea independently of each other and brought them together. And then, of course, Dylan, sweet Dylan, love you, bro, also had it.
Oh my!
Not
I
to
said,
mention
like,
the places that we stole it from.
You did the shout out hand gesture.
like they were dead.
Man, rest in peace. No.
Assigned dead at podcast. Oh no.
Good podcast name.
Assigned Dead.
Assigned
Dead
Dead
is a good
podcast.
podcast. That's pretty good. I really like that actually.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you can make it. I've got
Overall-
enough podcasts right now.
overall, I think I just do like we kind of already had it as a theme for magic in general, but I do like the concept of just you can get pretty much as much out of Gnostikinesis as you want, but it's like how much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice, right? Like how much of your sense of self, your sense of reality, your memory of yourself, your grasp on what is important to you, are you willing to like put on the line? Not like directly, but like with the knowledge of what can go wrong.
I think I'm just gonna stick to necromancy because then you just get like cool robes and like get all skeletal and shit. That seems a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah,
of the
necromancy.
three.
Famously, nothing ever goes wrong with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, in this setting, you definitely don't just start to eat something and it turns to ash and you're just like decaying, but can't die until you're
No,
like
see,
dead.
what you do is you become a necromancer, raise up an army of skeletons, and then operate a space station.
We've talked about this. You mentioned
Yeah.
this last episode.
Why not?
Dread Station. Cafe
Sorry,
and
not-
bakery.
I
One day
mean,
I'll
you
write
mentioned it earlier this episode.
Coming soon to Apple Books or Amazon Books.
We didn't split this up between multiple recording sessions, and there isn't a month gap
Nope.
between them. That didn't
It
happen.
hasn't been
Not
over
at
That's
a
never
year.
happened before, ever.
We've
Yeah,
never
we didn't
done that.
We didn't record the first half of this last year.
Oh right, I haven't seen you guys in a year.
We haven't seen each other all year.
Which also we did just date ourselves because last time I was making jokes about Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
And now it's the day after Christmas.
yeah, the day after Christmas is the time right now. Yes.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
That's a day after Christmas.
It is if you
Uh-huh.
remember it hard enough.
We're in the middle of Kwanzaa still.
True.
Oh god.
I wonder if you could possibly push Gnostikinesis so far, dig so deep, that you're basically existing at all times.
Well, I mean, that's what I did.
Shout out to the Lawful Great Adventurers. I'm now thinking about
Never heard of them.
the worst possible Gnostikineticist who, like, Mandela affects an entire town to think that they're actually a god.
Oh. Wait. When did that happen in Lawful Great?
No,
Is that
I'm
just-
taking inspiration of the final
Oh.
villain, right?
Yeah,
but like
yeah,
the
yeah,
idea of
yeah.
like
Oh,
the
that's
idea of
right.
like
When
a
did that happen?
collective memory.
Yeah.
Like the collective memory of like a population, though. You know,
Yeah.
like
It's a lot. It's a lot of memory to draw on.
it's a lot of power.
Mhm.
It
Damn,
was-
that
yeah.
sounds really close to true name shenanigans.
True name shenanigans. Oh god, we should talk about true names, but we should probably keep talking about. Did we have like an extended combo, or do we feel good about it?
We talked about
true name magic and deal magic. What happens when those two?
yes.
That's
What-
right.
What
Oh, that was
happened? What happened was you went, let's talk about Gnostikinesis, and we went, no, let's stick on topic, and we talked about true
Now
name
we're
magic.
talking about motherfucking Gnostikinesis.
And then we just went, what about magic? And we started power scaling our casters about who would win in a fight.
Hell yeah. I hope that's in the
Perfect.
spirit of cross stitch. I feel like if we were in a knitting circle and we were talking about the show, like we would start power scaling.
No, for sure. I would love to do a power scaling thing with their characters one day. What, record or not?
I'm
I would love to see that.
crocheting. Thank you very much.
I would love to see that tier
My
list.
cross stitch stuff is over there. I'm not grabbing it. I'll cross stitch during the next cross stitch.
Only
Mine's in
two
the
of us
drawer.
knit in any capacity here.
But to circle back, so before the flood, we said we were going to talk about it, and then we immediately talked about not the game.
After the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to first of all really shout out the preamble of that game.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really like almost like rituals in games. Played a game for the one shot, kind of like Patreon extravaganza or whatever, called My Dead Friend. I think that's what it's called. I'll
Reminder, we're
correct
part
that.
of the One Shot Podcast Network now.
Yeah.
Part of what shot
Yeah.
network?
Part of the One Shot
That
Network.
is like literally like the concept is one person's a ghost, one person's a necromancer, bring the ghost back for a reason. And it's literally a ritual. Like the game is like you're like tracing the like rune, and you're like doing things based off of like the like fire, earth, water, air, kind of like so like. But all that to say, I do like in terms of getting us into like a collective mindset, and I think that kind of stuff really works, and I think it makes a big difference.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
There's a reason that I kept going back to, but slowly eroding that text for the recaps of all the episodes, because it's like that is powerful. It's right up there with Skeletons as like all-time great intro blurb.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that it's good, especially speaking of that like ritualistic element of having that reminder for an entire arc.
On the subject of games that sort of blend the line between like what you're doing in the meat space and what you're doing in the game space, I picked up a game called Wreck This Deck. I don't know if anyone's seen it. I think it's like witchy punk. And the game does this entirely straight-faced. It's not like you are in a setting where you have a deck of cards that you modify to cast spells and summon demons, and you are deck runners. No, it's just like, here's a guidebook. If you want to be a deck runner and cast magic spells and trap demons, here's how you do it. Keep track of your fellow deck runners. And I'm like, oh, it's not even like telling me like how I'm supposed to play this. It's just like, here's how you fuck with this deck of cards, and like you're supposed to like bury cards in dirt and draw sigils on them and rip corners off of them, destroy them if the demon gets out, and then it just every so often sprinkles in like, oh, by the way, you should check on your fellow deck runners. And I'm like, wait a second, are we playing this around a table? Like, should I be texting Emily like, hey, how's your deck? Did you summon that demon today? Like, what is going on with this? It doesn't tell you anything, but it's such an interesting blend of real and game space that I think is sick as fuck.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I need
It's
that.
very
I
provocative.
need
Check it
that.
out. It's very your speed. Emily, it's also your speed. Zach?
Oh, I know.
Maybe? Anyway, I've got the segue. I'll reel us in, I promise. I took us out this far. I'll row us back. The point of the ritual is to establish each of the individual roles and also build kind of a sense of like how we're going to interact by nature of like what the punishment is, if the like how to end the ritual, like when the flood happens, like here's kind of how things go. It made it's not like it's a PvP game, it's a world building game, but it made the semi-adversarial nature of the game feel very natural, because there is kind of a quote villain in the form of Woe, but there's also kind of a villain against land in the form of like nation. Like there's a lot of oppositional stuff, and I think that creates a really good friction.
The game doesn't have villains. There is antagonism, though.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
antagonists, antagonistic forces.
The game literally has it built in for your characters. Like, whatever you have happen, this has to somehow be good for this place, or this has to somehow be bad. Like, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you do, but this is how it is for these people. Like, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I think it's I was legend is what's called my role, right?
Mhm.
Legend.
Yeah.
And then Rob was
Land.
Land. We
Rob
were
was land.
neutral.
Yeah.
We were just simply vibing.
You were simply vibing.
By the way, I love the mechanic that we had for Legend, which is just opening a book and reading a passage. That's so fun.
Don't feed the frog.
What I would say, first of all, I think the word that comes to mind for me is tension, right? Like they
Mhm.
set up a lot of tension between like land and civilization and weal and woe, and good tension and is kind of what drives good stories a lot. I particularly find it really fun. I feel like a lot of times, like with a lot of world building games, it's not as much, but a lot of times it feels like we're taking games, we're taking them as the author wrote them, and usually we're bending them just a little bit to kind of fit into this fun, weird thing we're doing. And this game felt like, oh, this was made for people doing this kind of fun, weird thing, where it's like both the like metatextual and textual,
Mhm.
like is like no, you're doing a world here, like let's make something that is meant to have existed and will exist, because that's the other thing I like is that I really like it's kind of like focused, and that's like, yeah, we have all this pre-flood stuff, but there is an end point, but it's not like done, it's ruined, but it's not gone.
Yeah. I think the knowledge that the place that you're creating is far in the past and has been destroyed, and you're just looking back on it, helps make the tension feel more okay, because it's just everyone participating in sort of a collective history making. And so
Yeah.
woe isn't really ruining anyone's shit. That's just what happened to these people while they still
Mhm.
existed. You know?
Like the gun's already loaded.
What will never be the worst thing that happened to these folks.
Yeah.
The way that it's set up to build that tension is, it's never gonna hit the level of this place is ruined or that everything has been destroyed. Woe is not what destroys. It's the flood.
Yeah.
That's the way that I was trying to play WoW a little bit, as this is something that there's a little bit of like, this is when you think about disabilities, most people, especially when they have access and when they have resources, will just manage their disabilities. Like, this is part of why the mobility aid expansions for like Blades in the Dark and D&D are really fucking sick, because it's like, yeah, this is an inconvenient thing that is in my character's life. This is the cool piece of how we manage it. And so I think even the first thing for WoW was the fish containing the memories, and then like that, sowing that kind of distrust. My intention was never to make a dysfunctional society, but to inject unique challenges that this society faced and managed, and had some successes, had some failures. Things went fine. Factionalization among the fungus elves, or the fungus fairies, exists into the present day. And that's something that I think that got injected along with the King in Green. And, that is kind of how I saw, it's how I saw my role. Not in, these are things that need to be fixed so much as these are things that need to be managed and accommodated for within the Twins' Cradle.
Yeah, Wheel was like the little miracles that happen.
Yeah.
While Woe is sometimes life just does a thing, and you
Mhm.
now there's just this fact, and it might not be if you probably don't like the fact, but it's there, so you just have to make it work. Have to
I gotta
Life
say,
goes
have
on.
to
the
deal
wheel,
with it. Have to go with it.
A lot of the times tragedies happen for no reason, and that's what makes them so tragic.
yep.
Yeah.
I gotta say that some of the
Yep.
wheel miracles, not so small. We had some pretty
No.
big fucking swings.
We have what the cards say we get.
Which we
Yeah.
love.
Yes.
And I just love too, inherently, like there's always like more woe prompts generally, but then when Wheel comes up, it's a fucking like explosion of shit that happens. I
It's
kind
a
of love.
3-card draw, baby.
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
always like a bumper crop of good things, of varying like scales.
It's the opposite of bad things coming.
Damn
in.
it, you
It's
beat me
good
to it. I was
things.
about to say it. Tragedies come in threes, but not before the flood. Oh no, the good shit comes in threes.
You need to get on my level, Ben.
I do. I need to be faster.
I don't know. It seems like you both are on the same level. You just grasp the brain cell.
You can't have it back. It's mine.
Mom said it's my turn.
My turn at the
so-
brain cell.
Just in terms of like kind of moving on to stuff that had happened, one of the running themes that developed, but we definitely became intentional about in the latter half of the arc, was pulling on the threads that were left over from the Wanderhome game. And so like in Nairburn, we had the shrine to Degale. Like that is a Degalian place of power to begin with. In Tarsig, there is a lot of echoes of the Forgotten God. I don't think the Forgotten God's ever like name checked explicitly, but it's heavily implied.
That's because we don't know his name.
Yeah,
Yes.
Forgotten God can only
Yes.
ever really be
Appropriately.
implied anyway.
The Forgotten God
Um,
can't be name checked.
But yeah, I remember
Right.
we did have a shrine. I don't remember if it was another Degale shrine or if it was like one of the like. But either way, like that group of 5. I forget how many. 5 gods from
Yeah, I think it was 5.
Wanderhome. We've dropped them a lot throughout.
Mhm.
Yeah. Vlakiaj has a shrine outside of Dalatheria. And then the Kore is the firefly that gets referenced as part of Aspen's playbook. Is that like, how do we feel that executed? Do we like those being in the world? Is that something
I
that
did not connect that last one about the
you-
core
really?
being the fly. I missed that. That makes sense now.
Can
I
you-
My
did not
bad.
connect that until you said it.
Oh, I did not put that together at all.
Wow.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
not
I
even
thought
a
I
little
was
bit.
clear about that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I did not catch that even a little bit.
You also thought you were clear about vampires, and
Damn.
we all know how that went.
Well, that was an accident. That was legitimately an accident. This one I was trying to be explicit about, but the way that I had established that, I think I had a prompt about like a lost martyr or something like that. But this was one of the locations that the Wanderhome gods visit. Maybe it's where they land when they come across the sea. Maybe it's late in their journeys. I don't know. We don't know. The text has been lost. That game's never been finished. But yeah, I was really leaning in. So part of my logic there, the Twins' Cradle and Bellacolum ended up being such a whimsical place, such a strange and light and airy place. And that's a lot of the thing that I took away from Dylan's performance of Aspen in that game is that is a whimsical and at times melancholy, mostly just like a strange god. That scene with the cake pull is still like it
Mhm.
hits my brain in the best way because it's so weird. I just recently tweeted out that the song "Rocket" by Rose Betts sounds like Aspen in so many ways. Of just like it's this like light, goofy little thing that has this serious core to it. But the idea was that they came here, and Aspen wanted to protect this place. Part of the reason that it was preserved wasn't just the canal, or maybe the canal was part of it, but literally they left their Firefly, the last extant piece of moonlight, of true moonlight, not the reflection of Venros, but of the last light that Aspen has, lives in those hot springs to the south of the Twins' cradle. And that's what kept the Empire out for so long. We don't know why it failed. We don't know how they got in, but we know that they did. And I guess that's the story there. Hope, to me, just from conversations with Robin, hope shows up where people are hopeless in a time when that tide is turning. So the bridge coming back to like the sun coming out on the bridge is our stand-in for hope in order to get all 5 of those gods on screen. But like, I don't know, I guess, sorry to drop that in and then have to explain it.
What if the sun finally shining on Zalo for the first time in centuries is when hope is reborn?
That is literally hope. Talking to Robin, that is what they have said is hope does not have a form. Hope is the boat that they traveled here in. Hope is the thing that shows up. It is finding mushrooms when you are starving and knowing that you can eat them. It's part of why I love that character so fucking much. So yeah, absolutely. I think that is
the whole game.
That is damn near text.
Love it. This could be my bringing back to two previous topics, Swiss cheese memory, but it wasn't explicit that we were starting at the start of the river. That happened, right?
Correct. Yeah,
'Cause
I didn't want to. I earlier.
I made like the big waterfall, and then we kind of like figured like as the water became water and the fact that it was like maybe the start of the river became more and more important. Then we were like, oh, well, then maybe this is what this is. So,
yeah.
It became the river after one of the wheel cards. Because one of the little good omens ended up being the waters coming back to Zalo.
Yeah, because we had the water came back, like something about the water returning or something. I went, hey, we can tie that in.
Yeah, because I think we had it was at the mouth of a river. It just wasn't always the river until we're like, yeah, it's the river.
Yeah.
And no, we're not naming it. You can't make us.
No, you can't force me to, government. I think it's as we started adding like more and more magical properties to it, we were like, oh yeah, this has got to be the river. It's way too important and cool to be some other river that we haven't talked about for 2 years.
Also, the thing that I love, all this is just for Game Over in general. All the fleshing out we've done has been for a continent. There's so much more we haven't looked at.
With no horses.
I thought you were going to say that all the fleshing out has been for us.
I mean, that too.
Well, yeah, it's all for us.
For me.
The fact that there's listeners is great, but this is for us, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still one day we will figure out what is with the spikes. With the spikes that resonate with the conversation from somewhere else. I don't know where I'm gonna go, where we can go with that. This sounds like a cool thing.
There's a sense of ancientness to the Twin Cradles area that predates the actual like civilization that we planted there. Because then we get the ziggurat and the prism that has that ancient sickly boy king who is not from the town. He's not he's part of something else. There's another ancient cave system, and then we've got these freaking singing spikes. So like
Ire 4 was definitely there before there was ever people.
Yeah, so we're talking about like there's like some deep time layering going on archaeologically with the history of the Twin Cradles, and it gets more and more arcane. Ooh, pardon. It gets more and more arcane as you go deeper and deeper and weirder and weirder.
I mean, so there's like a bunch of like lava straight up
Yeah.
coming out from under the ground. So like geologically, this could very well be one of the first pieces of land, right? Like when this world came about, depending on however that happened, like this could very well be like some of the most primordial terra firma.
Plus, with the impossible sea underneath the mountain.
We keep talking about like the past of the Twins Cradle, but I'm also curious to see what is the future gonna look like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
We left a group of Overtonians and a family. Like, I'm thinking like the survivors were like less than a dozen that hid away in that weird cave thing.
Yeah.
But it's just, what's the future gonna look like?
Yeah, I would love to get some of that, especially if we can sprinkle it in as part of the actual war arc.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, speaking of the war arc, I had this realization earlier. From the jump, like when we did Zala, we've been backwards catching up to current day, like the whole time.
Yeah.
And we're finally fully caught up. We're no more
Kind of.
flashbacks.
Well, we're about to hop back about 20 years or so, I think.
Damn it, you're
Yeah.
right, and I forgot.
But the last few arcs have now reached the same point. The Quiet Year and Ground itself have converged.
I'm shocked at how we somehow stumbled through and got like some clean lineup moments. Like we were somehow able to drunkenly just sort of waddle around our own mythos, and we landed on some really good connections.
That's what I love about the project so far, is that like with most people, I wouldn't have the trust that we could do that.
right.
And I'd be like when we started Game 11 and I pitched the idea of cross stitch, the point of cross stitch was to the point of patchwork. Sorry, point of patchwork was to fill all the
Fix
plot
it.
holes we left, and we
Right.
don't really have any to fix.
No,
Which is
we just use
baffling.
Patchwork to spend more time in places that we like or with characters
Yep.
that we like.
Or play weird
Yep.
games that we like. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
Like if we can't make a full episode of it in the main story, it's like, well, let's just make it a patchwork.
So one thing that I really like, so like one of my favorite parts about Fiasco, one of the games we played on the show, is that everyone only gets like 4 scenes that they like start. And I think part of, I think it was a really nice confluence of Before the Flood is just really well situated for us to like do our thing. And also, we knew this was the last part. We all, as storytellers, were like, time to tie some shit up. Like, not only this
Mhm.
arc, but like after this, we're going to the bad place. So we need to like this is kind of our last port of call, in a lot of ways. Like for the
Mhm.
bridge, for like non-empire related things, for like setup for that kind of, so I think that that idea of like restriction breeding creativity though as well, I think that plays a big part in like
So we are all storytellers. Not all of us are specifically like writers of like novels, novellas, but we all are storytellers. And like in the writing world, there's like different people who have different approaches, and a lot of it kind of breaks down into you either fly by the seat of your pants, you plot, or you're a plantser.
Yeah.
We're all planters to an extent.
That's a really weird sentence to say.
Don't fucking
Planting being a portmanteau of seat of your pants and planning. Plants.
Yeah,
Planters?
it's
I hardly know
it's
her.
plot. Yeah,
You know,
plotting and
a noble
pantsing.
verdrine could be called a plant, sir.
Nope.
I got there.
It ties into something that I do as a writer, where it's when I'm working on something, like I'm working on book 4 of a series right now, and I know kind of what thing is going to be the end point. Like this whole time we've been building up to the Council of the Grey, which will be the start of the war. We know what we're going for, we just don't know what's going to happen when we get there. And that's the fun. Is what are we going to have to play with when we get there, and then what are we going to do with it?
From the terms of like how to structure like storytelling, like okay, everyone's got a novel. All right, everyone's got a novel in their head, and the only one of us that's actually able to write them is Bree.
I have too many.
And I'm sure that if I was to talk to someone who's got a novel in their head, they could give me a vague plot synopsis, and they could potentially even give me like a part by part or a beat by beat or even a chapter by chapter synopsis, but then they have to sit down and actually like type the fucking thing. What's cool about this format is when we get into the deep, like we can do all of the structural design stuff, and this is how we write arcs, is we kind of get sort of a vague sort of elemental structure to what we want. And then we just go, okay, this game goes there, that game goes there, that game goes there, that game goes there. We're going to do it and see how it looks. And then we, off we go, and there we go. We got
pivot if we have to. Pivot if we have to. We have to, like, because Adversary, like, Shadal is the best execution of an arc that we've had, to my mind, in a lot of ways. Adversary got thrown in at the 11th hour because of how Queen of Light's Last Stand ended, but, like...
I told Nikki to have my character get kidnapped.
Yeah,
I just told her she could go ahead and have Irene get
Just do it. You're setting up, you might as well.
I mean,
but it kind of makes it easy to tell all these really big, broad moments, and it also makes the feeling of the history feel so unreliable because
there's so much we don't know.
There's so much we don't know, but you can also imagine each of the segments that we do game by game by game as almost being its own independent text. So we don't have one big novel. What we have is we have a sequence of volumes sitting on a shelf by different authors, and we're like, okay, well, I guess I'll read this author's interpretation of what happened in Tarsig. Oh, there was a dog there? Like, it's...
Did that ever? I forget. Did we ever find that audio? Was that just gone forever?
We posted part 1. Part 2 of This Is a Game About Fishing disappeared.
Right.
Yes.
That is just gone.
Yeah,
it quite literally got disappeared due to technology.
Yeah.
The lost episode is lost.
I don't remember if we've mentioned the lost episode on a record. I don't remember.
I'm not sure either, but
basically we had an episode that we just thought was bad. We had to pivot away from. First time we were like, this was bad. This sucked.
It was so funny because part 1 of This Is a Game About Fishing was actually a blast, and it was really neat, and it ended really well. And then we got into part 2, and it was, I don't know if we were all just on some goofy shoes or what, but here's the deal. I'm sure that a fan who knows us and knows the show would have had a blast, because it is definitely us at like maximum goofy, but it is two fucking goofballs.
It's what I refer to when a piece of media becomes impenetrable.
Yeah.
If you're not in it, you cannot get into it.
It would be like if you watched the first 3 episodes of Supernatural and were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," and then skipped to season 13.
Yeah.
And you were like, "What the fuck is this?"
But it's not even I don't even think that there's necessarily that same kind of logic. Well, my problem with it is that we had, personally speaking, I was definitely coming in with a different tonal priority than everybody else was. And that's part of, and granted,
I was a dog.
You were a dog.
I was my dog. I was playing my dog.
Which ripped. There are so many individual pieces of that episode that are great. There are some fun scenes. There are some really cool ideas. There are neat characters. There are funny bits. None of them fit together.
No,
none of them fit together.
It is it is a pile of Legos, Mega Blocks, and Duplos.
With some
ain't
connects
it.
thrown in.
With some connects.
With some
I don't even make
connects.
those anymore.
And Lincoln Logs.
And an
Oh,
erector
Legos
set.
and Lincoln Logs slap together though.
By the way, Duplo is actually part of Lego. It's just meant it is called Duplo because it's double the size. And
No,
there's-
I understand. You
They fit
cannot fit
together, I'm just
Legos onto
saying.
Duplos.
Yeah. I don't know
I
why
got
I'm bringing
Bad
this up.
attitude.
This is new lore for me. I learned the other day because I'm subscribed to like a Lego channel on YouTube. I'm like, oh, interesting lore. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. Keep going.
The original history of Tarsig could have been way different than it was, and I'm so happy about the pivot.
That was a good
Yes.
call that we axed that second episode because then we were just able to gesture to it during this is a game excuse
Street
me
Magic.
did you say I'm sorry did you say Street Magic? We were able
All
to just
lowercase.
gesture at it vaguely as like, oh yeah, there was a terrorist attack, and that's kind of the
Mhm.
inciting incident for part of it.
Was it a terrorist attack or was it just spun that way by the government? Who knows?
It was the government.
It was a dog.
No, it was a terrorist attack.
It was a dog did a terrorism.
We made Tarsig was so fun. It was very steampunk.
I'm so glad we managed to loop back around to Tarsig because I fucking love Tarsig.
I
I'm
told
ready
you
to
it would
talk
happen.
about Tarsig because, like, I feel like winter was so recent, and like before the flood was so recent that, like, just go listen to the episodes, guys. And we're also sorry, I don't want to like dismiss it, but we're also still going to be spinning out the ramifications of before the flood, like
Mhm.
in the coming
Yeah.
days. I don't know what else there is really to talk about.
And winter, the ramifications of the things that happened in winter.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
where did the
right.
king in green go? And
That was something I wanted to say earlier, and I forgot to come back to it. I love the King in Green.
He's fun.
He's a cool
If-
guy. We know nothing
is
about
such
him
a-
other than he's just kind of neat. I love that for him.
I like the King
He-
in Green a
he
lot.
has
He's very
a staff-
primordial.
he has a staff with a slingshot on the top of it. And he
Which is
slingshots
so goofy.
arrows and can shoot trees at people.
No, he slingshots
Yep.
acorns.
He's kind of neat, kind of a
Acorns.
dick, as most people are.
Kind of weird, but also like very like ancient. Like it's kind of like this weird primordial screwball magic. Like, oh yeah, of course he has a slingshot that creates trees. Don't
Whatever,
you?
man.
That's
Like,
how myths
yeah.
and legends go.
Like, what do
Alright.
you? Yeah, exactly. He feels like a Greek god,
Mhm.
and
Or an Arthurian legend, like a pre. Yeah.
What I
As
What I
say,
do
Feels
like-
very
God
Tom
and
Bombadil.
Cue my obsession with Epic the Musical.
Rob, you were saying
yeah,
something?
what I was gonna say is like, I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing. But I feel like when I'm doing magic system things, I tend to go more like, you know, like hard magic, gritty, like realist, like kind of like trying to like get into it. And I really feel like we did a great job of making sure we stay on that like fairy tale logic, softer magic here, because I do really like that feel for Game Woven in its world. I think that there are going to be places for harder magic versus
Yeah.
softer magic.
Which is a great thing to bring up from a words hard. A thing in writing when we were talking about magic, because Rob mentioned it, but we haven't mentioned it in broadly on the show, is soft versus hard magic, and I don't know if people here know what I'm talking about with this or not.
Let her rip.
do.
But yeah, so soft magic refers to magic where like the rules are less obvious and more amorphous, and hard magic is like you can like you can read a Wikipedia page on how the magic works and fully grasp the rules.
And
And-
more
yeah.
importantly, like the idea of like the rules are known in the world, right?
Yes.
Like when someone casts a fireball, are they like, if I like do this thing and think about a bonfire, it's gonna make a big magic fire appear? Or are they like, you see, when I weave the lingua arcana in this certain way and master my evocational dialect, it will create a burst of fire in an orb-like manner. Right, like that
Yeah.
that second one is hard magic.
With hard magic systems, there's one way to do the thing, and you have to do
Yeah.
it that way if you want to do the thing. Soft magic is a lot more vibes.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
more
big
vibe
vibe.
based.
Hard magic is STEAM, and soft magic is the humanities.
I have heard hard magic described as another type of science
Yes.
because once an arcane language is so carefully codified, it is like you're no longer really even talking about magic. You're talking about a thing that just works in that world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the best example I can think of is Brandon Sanderson, specifically Warbreaker, where it's just like the ability has like this costs this many breaths. You can make certain things happen, but like there are defined rules to what you can make happen and how you have to do it, and it costs a specific amount of breaths.
Yeah, I think in general, when people talk about hard magic, Brandon Sanderson's name comes up a lot.
If I remember correctly, he's the person who first like
Like
put
coined the
words
phrase.
to the
Yeah.
to
I
the
believe
kind of
so.
phenomenon.
Yeah, there's also, you can see good examples of it in Mistborn, and that book in particular is one of my favorite examples of a writer teaching the audience how the magic system works without making it feel like they're just going, okay, here's how it works, just because it's like we get to see it and then the character gets taught it. Magic
That's cool.
systems are cool. And I think there are some parameters and things with the magic that we have in Game Woven, but there's so many different sources, and they have like different rules, different guidelines, different loopholes.
They're more like they're not necessarily hard. Like there are some things that you can expect will happen. They're less like rules and more like axioms.
Yeah.
If you dig too hard and too deep, something bad's going to happen, and it's usually going to have something to do with the manner in which you dig too hard and too deep. Like that's one of the big ones. Or
Our magic functions on rules of thumb, not on rules.
yeah. I think
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you know, talking about like the twin cradles and how it interacts with the rest of the world, I think, and I don't know if this came up in another recording, but adding and we described it as if Game Woven was an MMORPG, the twins cradles would be the starting area. Like that would
Mhm.
be where your adventure would start, because it's so kind of like soft, and it is kind of operates more on fairy tale logic than anything else. It's almost a semi-real place, a place that is vaguely separated from the like the harsh realities of the rest of the world, which makes it so tragic when the flood
Yeah,
comes
by the
through and
moon.
destroys it.
Yeah.
But like that would be where I would start the players. I'd be like, oh yeah, you're in the twins cradle and you're rebuilding society, and there's a fairy drake and he's gonna take you on a quest to get apples for the gnome family. Oh, look out, there's a war turtle that you have to fight. Here's how you do the mechanics. Like that would be the twins cradle. Like that would, like, you press A to swing your sword. You can also hold A for a power attack. Like that.
It's the tutorial level.
I
Yeah.
like Ben's tutorial voice.
My tutorial voice is
Yeah.
And everyone will want to skip the tutorial because of the voice, but nobody will because they all want to get their own Glippus Pippus.
yeah, you can do the whole tutorial. You get the Glippus Bippus pat that follows you. Follows you everywhere.
Glibus Pippus is the stupidest thing I've done in the show.
and
We
we
love
won't let it go.
Nope.
No, beloved.
Stupidest fucking thing I've ever
I
said.
can't wait for Glippus Pippus to interject during the Council of Grey. Anyway, so one thing that I just thought about as well is like, because like, yeah, the Twins Cradle, like, even like as a setting feels different. I like the idea that like, I mean, we've had the axiom of if you do too much magic, you dig too deep, it'll change you. Shouldn't that theoretically be true for the world as well, right?
Mhm.
If there's a place that has so much magic in it, around it, of it, shouldn't that also shape it?
Is the presence of the memory magic why Twins Cradle so dang whimsical?
Right, and it's kind of like chicken or the egg. Like,
Yeah.
are all these things here because this place is so magical, or is this place so magical because all these things are here?
Yeah, like is this
Yes.
just how people
Yeah.
remembered it when they lived here? They remembered it being
Mm.
this fantastical and words whimsical. Yeah, you just said it, and I couldn't remember it.
I mean, there's part of me. I already talked about it when we talked about like the Dawnbreaker, but there's part of me that is like really fixated on these like 4 Leviathans and the ramifications of them just existing in an area.
Yeah, I've been thinking about those.
Cause like we have the Twins Cradle, we have the Leviathan, which literally the entire jungle around this place is full of like so far the deadliest monsters that like we know to exist, right? Like just like
Yeah.
one of the worst, like was just like the most dangerous places. And then we have fucking Tarsig, which has got all sorts of weird shit going on with itself.
Lots of
right?
ghosts.
Like
So
lots
many
of
ghosts.
and like lots of magic and like magic that can be made physical and like industrialized. Like we don't really know. I don't think we've really established how much that is repeatable. Like obviously the ways of producing things have been copied down, but I feel like in my heart of hearts, part of the reason it worked so well in Tarsig is like there's just something about it, right? But you know, shrugs in world building.
I want to talk about the behemoths so bad, and like I said, at some point in the middle of the before the flood, or was it winter? Either way, at some point during that final part of it, I went, wait a minute, that's our 3rd giant skeleton, and we've had it situated at the cardinal directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got one in the
Yeah.
south. Then we put one in the west. Now we've got one in the north. And now we need an eastern behemoth.
You can only assume there's an eastern one, right?
We just haven't encountered it yet.
And there may very well be one dead center in the continent, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
where? Zalo.
Haha.
One of the things I love is, yeah, sure, they're all skeletal remains, but they're all also still talking to the world.
Mhm.
Giant bass. That's why they call it Bassrick.
Nope. Nope. Vetoed.
And he
The
doesn't talk to the
pause
world.
in the
He
setup.
sings to it.
Oh.
No.
No, I am just. Oh, I love this arc because one, we also tied up a lot of loose ends that we had floating around, and then
Yep.
we dropped so many
So many new ones.
because there's things that we had, and then we was like, we're just gonna let that be there, and then we went, but what if we bring it back and poke at it a little bit, like with the skeletons?
That was part of the original pitch, and I feel like I pushed for it really heavy early on. Like, quit tying things off. Don't tie things off. We need to leave as many loose ends as possible. Trust me, we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna want to start tying it off, and it's gonna feel so good. It's gonna like getting your back cracked.
But like the 13 Desert Kingdoms, that's an entire show. Is just
Yeah.
figuring out the deal with that.
Oh yeah. Also, really good band album name.
13 Desert Kingdoms.
The 13
Yes.
Desert Kingdoms.
Yeah. And then Tarsig, you can do like Tarsig can be 2 separate settings, probably in different games, but like pre-bridge, Tarsig is a great Blades in the Dark setting.
Mm-hmm.
Post-bridge is probably something else. You could probably still run it as Blades, but
Yeah.
like there's a dividing line between how much that spot changes, but it's just like
Which is like part of the thing when we started Game 11 was we were excited to see if people would play in our setting.
Yeah.
And Tarsig was like the place where I went, I want to see that.
yeah.
Play in Tarsig, please.
The way I would do Tarsig is I wouldn't do Tarsig as like, oh, we're gonna do like a season in Tarsig. I would be like, okay, we're doing a totally separate thing. It's gonna be like one of those. It's literally I would do like a standard like we're gonna do a Blades in the Dark stream, fellas, and then I would get people in and we would just do Blades in the Dark, and the setting would just happen to be Tarsig and to be part of the
Mhm.
Game Woman.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
want it.
listeners, that'd be a great place to make a game.
True.
We've got lots of we've got lots of toys you can play with, and we're so unattached to the actual details that you can kind of make shit up. You can just make up whatever you want.
Like we're not
And
It's a
we
faction-heavy
will all happy cry when you tell us about it. We will
Rude.
all just straight up happy cry.
I won't. I'm stronger than that.
It's not.
I don't believe you.
Ben crying the hardest out of all of us. Benjamin built different Drury.
True. That's did you just dox me?
Benjamin, your name is literally on the podcast.
It's
Now
literally on the
everyone that's
podcast.
true. Now everyone knows not only where I live, what my dog looks like, but also my last name. You literally
You've
power
done this.
word real named me.
You did this.
That's true.
Your name is on the game that you
That'd
wrote.
be really funny.
You
I
were the
didn't know your
architect.
name was, your middle name was built different.
That's true though. That
You
my
were
mom
the architect of your own demise. I've done nothing.
Innocent.
I'm merely the curator of the museum to the mistakes you have wrought.
Love that
Damn.
for you.
Oh, that's good.
Was that from something? Or
No.
Did you just come up
It
with
is
something
now.
hard?
It's from cross stitch.
That was. I mean, Lex does that. Lex has some hard.
Oh, I
fucking
know.
lines.
I don't know what you mean.
Lex is just one of those people where you just want to stick around to see what they say next. In like the best possible way. Zad too. Zad, it's one of my favorite things where like 9 out of 10 times you'll take a moment and then you'll go on like an amazing diatribe that's like, I couldn't write something this poignant if I had 10 weeks to do it. And then 1 out of 10 times you just meme on us so hard. And I, as an Agent of Chaos, I just
Sometimes it's
really
giant
love the like, you never know what chocolate you're pulling out of the box.
I gotta be real with you. I have seen Zad go on really long like things, setting up something like really complicated and important and impactful, and I can feel the beat. I can feel it where Zad decides to not go for the joke and actually stick the landing.
Oh,
There's always a moment where I'm like, oh, here it comes, here comes the punchline, and then Zad doesn't do it.
it's a Shaggy Dog story that's heartwarming, right?
Yeah.
Like heartwarming Shaggy Dog story
Yes.
is sometimes the vibe. I've been driving around with one of my postal vehicles, right-hand drive, so you can deliver. We don't have enough trucks. One of my supervisors has been driving me. I've been delivering out the back window. We pulled into this place that was called Red Wing Estates for some reason. And as I was like picking up the mail to go deliver to their collective boxes, I turned to him and said, this is like, they built this place as an enclave for the fans of the hockey team. You had to show proof of ownership or something. And I had apparently said enough other wild shit that was true that didn't scan as a joke until I was like, no, that's not true.
No, that I've had that happen to me, and my mind's blown every time it happens. The one that threw me the most was I was in the car with some friends. We were like driving. We were in my town, right? And like some looked at the side of the road and was like, "Oh, that's like a giant like opossum." I'm like, "Oh, that's Barry," and that's a kind of and I said it was such a, like apparently like I thought it was very clearly a joke, and they went, "Oh, that's cool."
You guys got a named possum. What towns have those?
Yeah,
That's a thing.
Well, yeah, no, that's Barry. That's just Barry. He just hangs out.
Like if there's like one hawk that lives near the park where I live, and like it's there all the time. And like if I gave that hawk a name, that's that hawk's name. And like I could spread it. Like I'd be like, oh yes, that's Dead-Eyed Cletus, and that would just be that'd be the hawk's name.
Things you can't call a person, by the way.
Dead-Eye Cletus?
I mean, we had a squirrel in our yard for about 5 years that I called Stubby because his tail was just a little stub.
Okay, I'm saying if someone hasn't like, someone has to call themselves Dead-Eye Cletus before you call them Dead-Eye Cletus.
And they better fucking sell it too. Like if someone comes at me and is like, "Oh yeah, people call me Dead-Eye Cletus," and their eyes are not like the void, I'm gonna be like, "No, they don't." They
No,
would
fuck
never.
don't. No one calls you that.
Oh, I
again.
was assuming they were a good. I was assuming Cletus was a really good shot. That's what I like. That was what was in my head.
Oh, I mean, you could do it that way, but I was picturing more like someone with horrible eyes, like horrifying
Okay.
eyes.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
just
I my brain went
staring
to
into the
doing
full middle distance.
my
like,
brain went into
taking-
doing enablism, and that's just what you're calling the blind guy.
Mm,
That's
Oh.
that's wild.
gotcha, yeah.
So
I was like, that's an absolutely insane thing to call a human being.
is this gonna be the Dead Cletus cut?
Nope.
Yeah. Well, Ben's
Oh, I
Ben's
think
call
Ben
just died.
froze.
Ben exploded.
What a face.
Ben died.
That's a great time to end the episode with Ben.
Frozen.
Yeah, Ben frozen, unable to participate, and ruin this ending. So, thank you for listening to this rendition of Cross Stitch. I hope you had fun, and I hope you join us for our future endeavors. Happy Weave-Miss.
Stay
Happy
tuned for
week,
news
No,
about the next
Say
arc.
it with your whole chest.
Happy weakness.
Commit.
No,
I need commitment.
it's almost midnight, and I'm tired.
Stay tuned to see what shenanigans we get up to next time.
Absolutely.
You can count on the fact that shit's gonna be weird.
Game Woven is now proudly part of the One Shot Network. Check out other great podcasts at oneshotpodcast.com.
Go piss, girl. That means nothing. That's getting
Leave
cut.
it in.
Nope.
Nope, leave it in.
That's both to you, Benjamin, but also to you, listener, right now. Go piss, girl.